Goodness gracious, week 2 is already here, guys. I'm pretty excited. I can tell you that right now. I'm pumped up for another week of the Blitz with you fine gentlemen. It's funny that the intro there has Alex with his sunglasses because he is too cool to join us this week. He had some prior engagements he's got to take care of. He will definitely be missed, but we got a replacement for him this week. We got our man Jeff coming in from a Dash of DFS that we host on Saturday nights. So we'll get into the intros really quick. With me on my left is my man Jason. Been doing this for years. What's going on, my brother?
Dude, I am ready for week 2, even though it seems like the NFL is not ready for week 2. Let's do this.
Right, yeah, they're like, hey, you know what? We're gonna start out the season so good, and then we're gonna give you guys this slate. Although that Thursday game was pretty on fire. The man down below below center, I guess, is my man George. What's happening, George?
Not a whole lot, man. Just excited for week 2. I don't know what Jason's talking about. There's plenty of good games. It's headlined by the Dolphins and the Ravens. Let's go.
Let's get this thing done. Yeah, I love it. And then to his left, we got our man Joe. Joe, what's happening?
Hey, man, celebrating the 42nd birthday today, week 2 NFL, ready to right some of our wrongs from last week and, start making some money.
Well, happy birthday, my man. Happy birthday. That's awesome. I didn't know it was your birthday. We would have done something. Probably started off with a happy birthday, Mr. President, or something like that, at least for you right there. And then, like I said, filling in for our man Alex, but definitely not a typical fill-in because he's also another host. He's another great guy. Like I said, you catch him on Saturday nights on the Dash of DFS. My man Jeff, what's happening this morning? Jeff, welcome to the Blitz.
Morning, gentlemen. Excellent to be here. Looking forward to week 2. I know that Cowboys fans are hoping Cooper Rush is the next Tom Brady, but I would rather have Jonathan Moxon as my quarterback. That's a Varsity Blues reference for those kids who don't get it. And if you're an adult who doesn't get that, you should be ashamed.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I had to think for a second. I'm like, who's he talking about? And I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay, we got you. That's great, man. That's great. Well, so all the little housekeeping stuff, make sure you're following us at toiletsandtitles.com. Hop on our Patreon. Our Patreon set up, man. It's got so many different great tiers. The $3 gets you into the Discord chat, $5 early access to the waiver wire episodes, invite to a Frankenstank, which is an awesome, fun league. $7.50 one-on-one draft advice, $10 entry into Frankenstank. $20 gets you one-on-one roster advice, and we'll do a 30-minute draft breakdown of your draft, or like Justin says, anything, dude. I'll do a 30-minute show about anything if it's me who you choose to do the show for you. I'll talk about Star Wars. I don't even give a crap. We'll do whatever you would like to
You're
do.
not going to try to outdo your empty nest reference from last night?
Yeah, like my empty nest reference. That's saved for the Dash.
Picket fences.
They catch me when I got a little bit of booze in me, Joe. So we get really old school on them real quick on that kind of stuff. But with that, we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off with what we're going to start doing on the Blitz every week. And that's Joe. Why don't you break us down with some injuries? We got an injury report coming at you, so we know who they're sitting for sure out the gate.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we had the stories of the week, like a Dak Prescott, obviously, who's going to be out a while with the thumb. Chris Godwin's going to be out again with the hamstring injury for Tampa. We knew that, but we've had some kind of late breakers here in the last couple hours. The Jets have confirmed that CJ Uzomah will not play today, kind of opening the door for Conklin to get even more targets there in New York. George Kittle's been confirmed out again for week 2. J.K. Dobbins also now for Baltimore has been confirmed out. He was rolling up to be a true game time decision. Kenyon Drake looks to be getting the starting carries there, and Alvin Kamara is now officially out. Mark Ingram will start in his place, but it's being reported that he will be splitting carries with somebody Jones, right? Something Thomas, not Thomas Jones, but a Jones. Julio Jones, true game time decision right now for Tampa, but that's a big one because they're already without Godwin and a whole slew of guys, so Jones would be relevant if he does play. Kenneth Walker is going to be back this week. He will make his NFL debut for Seattle. Najee Harris will play. Alex Pierce has been ruled out for the Colts. They're going to be without their top 2 starting wideouts. Something to think about today, both Pittman and Pierce. And then lastly, it looks like DeAndre Swift is rolling up to be a game time decision. Pretty relevant there in Detroit. He had a bomb of a week 1, so we were hoping that you could trot him out again if he plays today. Well, is Mikey back on mute?
Yeah, no, but I was like, I think I muted is even what I said in my head. I was actually looking at a different screen again. But yeah, so no, I agree with a lot of that's kind of crazy. A few of those kind of came that we were expecting. You know, like Alvin Kamara didn't look like he was shaping up for the whole entire week. There's quite a few guys on there that kind of were. So I mean, if you haven't adapted, make sure you get your questions in right here, right now, and we'll be able to help you out and get that lineup set. We got our man Uncle Steve chiming in right away. Good morning, Steve. And he's got a question for us. He says, in Frankenstein, pick one. Nyheim Hines, Robbie Anderson, or Hunter Renfrow. And Jason, since you were the last person to talk for a while, let's go ahead and start with you on this one, buddy.
So I'm not necessarily high on Hunter Renfrow on the week because we didn't see a lot of usage last week. But I think Nyheim Hines and Robbie Anderson are both a tier below Hunter Renfrow. Robbie Anderson's chasing last week's points, not something I want to do. Nyheim Hines, now they do need pass catchers out in Indianapolis, but I don't think Nyheim Hines is going to be the guy because I think he'll be on the bench a lot and it's just going to be a handoff game all day. So for me, it's Hunter Renfrow.
I like Hunter Renfrow in that situation just because I do believe that he does have a comeback week. I think I like his opportunity there. I think he just got underused last week. I think Devontae Adams is going to be a target hog, something I was wrong about all offseason because you don't really ever see Derek Carr just feature one wide receiver. He likes to spread it out, but we're seeing a lot of difference. Jeff, what do you think here? What's your take on this one? Who are you starting?
You know, I do like your take on Hunter Renfrow. I might lean a little more towards Hines just because, yes, Jonathan Taylor is going to get a lot of the workload, but Matt Ryan's got to throw to somebody. You might have some splitting here and there with Hines and Taylor, and especially since the top two wideouts are not there. I think Hines is going to get a lot more targets maybe than some people think. Renfro's obviously a great play. I'd take a flyer and go Hines, in my opinion.
I like that. Definitely. Hines is a good guy. I think we start seeing him get a little bit more featured in that offense. I mean, because Matt Ryan likes that pass catching back, and Jonathan Taylor can only run that ball so much and get like 2,000 yards a game or something like that. They're going to overuse him. George, do you have a split take on that?
I do, but it's not going to be the way everybody else is thinking.
We're going Robbie Anderson, huh?
Yeah, just because it is the Frankenstein where you get rewarded for bigger plays. Robbie Anderson last week had a couple of deep shots down the field from Baker, one actually connected. So I'm more leaning because of the scoring format of this league. I'm leaning more towards Robbie Anderson than I am the other two guys.
Okay, Robbie Anderson. That's a different one. Joe, who do you got here?
Yeah, I like the allure of Hines here. I do think, especially if they were to get ahead, I could see Hines playing more of a relevant role. I do also think that Matt Ryan kind of needs like a binky from a check down perspective. And I think Hines is probably the best shot to be that this week. However, you're talking about a standard league. You drafted Hunter Renfrow to play over Nyheim Hines, and it's only week 2. It's a nice matchup for the Raiders. So I would probably stick with my draft and start Renfrow this week. Hines, I think, is more relevant in a DFS scenario, to be honest. Hines for like $3,900 on DraftKings or whatever he costs. I think that's actually a really, really solid play this week for all the reasons we all just mentioned.
Excellent. I can get behind it. I think I'll go with Renfrow here as well, just because just keep it so we're not splitting this up too bad. For sure. We got our man Rich checking in. What's happening, Rich? Jared says Renfrow or CD. Who are we going with today? And Joe, we'll start you off with this one.
I'm gonna stick with my draft again. I'm gonna go with that same political line of bullshit, and I'll go CD Lamb. I'll give that offense in Cooper 1 week. He did have a couple of decent, I guess, games last year when he filled in. CD Lamb is the more talented player out of the group here. So I'll go CD Lamb, but I wouldn't be paying up for him. I'll go back to the DFS scenario. I wouldn't be paying up for CD this week in DFS by any means.
Excellent. Jeff, what do you got on that?
I've already kind of said my piece about what I think of the Dallas Cowboy offense this week. I think it's a no-brainer. Renfro gets a lot of targets. Cooper Rush is an X factor. CeeDee Lamb is certainly the target there in Dallas, but I got to go with Renfro on that one just because I don't know what to expect from Cooper Rush at all.
Excellent. Jason, do you got anything on there?
No, I'm going CeeDee Lamb here. Just game script dependent. Like I see Dallas getting behind pretty quick against the Bengals and having to throw the ball, so they're going to throw it a lot more than they want to. And I see it, which is not something they should have done last week. They went away from a running game that was working, but I think this week they're going to get behind quick and have to throw the ball. So yeah, they're not great targets, but they are targets, and he's going to get, and CeeDee Lamb's going to get more of them. So I'm going to go CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. George, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going with the consensus here at CeeDee Lamb. It's not even really close for me. Cooper Rush is definitely a downgrade from Dak Prescott, but CeeDee Lamb is going to be the game script for the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be handed off to Zeke, check it down to Pollard, and when you throw the ball, either Dalton Schultz or CeeDee Lamb, there's going to be the two guys that you're going to hyper-focus on. So I would go with CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. Okay, so CeeDee Lamb takes the game right there. And Jared Gray mentions that they do have a 100-yard game together, so he does know how to be able to find him. So I guess we got that going for us. Trans-Siberian, what's happening, brother? Hello from here, and I hope everything's well there. He says, kind day, boys. As standard flex, we got Allen Robinson, Yuck, Kirk, or Bateman. As always, wonderful to see you. And likewise, man, it's good to hear from you. Glad that you keep checking in week to week. Even if you don't have a question, I want you here every week just saying, hey, we haven't been bombed yet or anything like that, man, because it's great to hear from you, and I'm glad you're safe. And I'll go ahead and start you off with this one, George.
So I got burnt by Allen Robinson last week, as did a lot of people. I've got Allen Robinson in my home league. I've actually got him benched right now for a questionable Gabe Davis. I feel like Christian Kirk is actually the answer here. I don't like the fact that Bateman's going to get shadowed by Xavier Howard. Allen Robinson, he looked good last week in the routes that he ran. The problem is Matt Stafford only had googly eyes for up, and that was it. So I wanna see them get Allen Robinson more involved before I trust him. And being it's a standard league, I still think the passing offense in Jacksonville is moving through Christian Kirk. So I'm gonna go with Christian Kirk here.
Christian Kirk, okay. Jason, what do you got?
It's funny because I was just looking it over. I have Kirk one spot higher than Bateman this week. So I think I'm going to stay in. You know what? I think I'm going to go Bateman because I trust Bateman to get a touchdown. This is standard, not PPR. So I think I trust Bateman to get a touchdown over Christian Kirk. So even though I have him swapped in my ratings, I'm going to go Rashad Bateman here.
Rashad Bateman for Jason. Jeff, who do you got?
I'm going to have to go with Christian Kirk on this one. Robinson still hasn't proven himself. Bateman, I kind of want to stay away from, but Kirk is the number one option in Jacksonville. I got to think that Trevor Lawrence is going to put things together out there. I'd say that Kirk's probably going to have a good amount of targets. I'd roll with him this week.
Excellent. Joe, what do you got to add to that?
Yeah, I think Jason hit it on the head if you're dealing with a PPR or not. I think I like Kirk in the PPR. I think he's safest. Yeah, I guess in standard, I go Bateman. You hate to overreact to 1 week. You would think this would be the week that Allen Robinson, this is the perfect game after a bad week 1 loss. You get to have Atlanta at home, who's already emotionally deflated. I don't really want to play Bateman. I would take one more shot with Robinson. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to hold a real big grudge against Robinson if he goes 0 for 2.
Well, so one thing on Robinson's side, even though I selected Bateman, is the fact that this week they're not playing the Bills defense that got after the quarterback. So there may be time for Stafford to go through his reads a little bit better. So that does speak a little higher to what Robinson's ceiling is here. I will point out that Bateman was just barely missed on a second touchdown last week, in which we'd be talking about Bateman a lot more had he been able to come down with that. So it'd be 2 touchdowns versus just the one he got. And I know George down there is shaking his head because they're playing the vaunted Dolphins defense. I mean, look, I want to see it. I want to see, Xavier Howard, that's fine. I still like Bateman to get a touchdown over Christian Kirk with Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball.
It's close for me too. I mean, because I'm on the fence about that exact situation. I see Kirk getting about the 7 to 8 targets per that game. The one thing I don't see happening, unfortunately, is a guaranteed touchdown where I feel like Bateman will get a touchdown. I think that's going to be not a high scoring game, but I think it'll be like 27-31, somewhere in that window. I do have Miami winning though. So George can get all stoked about that. Get those, warm feelers. But I hope that helped out Trans-Siberian. It looks like we landed on Bateman for the majority there. Let's see here. Asking the experts from Kevin Foote. You're on the wrong show. No, I'm just kidding, buddy. He's starting 2 of these in PPR. Higgins coming off of the concussion, Edmonds at Baltimore, and Sutton versus Houston. Jeff, you haven't started one out, and you're a first timer on the Blitz. Let's go ahead. What you got here, bud?
That's certainly an interesting question there. I really like Cortland Sutton. He's a big target. I think he'll get a lot of looks in Houston. I also do like Higgins in that matchup too. So I'd say Edmonds for me is the one I'm staying away from. If you're taking 2 out of that, Higgins and Sutton are my picks.
Higgins and Sutton are your picks. Starting 2, I guess he did say. Jason, what do you got?
I'm probably going Higgins and Edmonds this week. Sutton's that whole Denver wide receiver course scares me a bit. Sutton wasn't on. It looked like Sutton wasn't even on the field like most of the first half last week, and that scares me. Even though it's against Houston, that scares me. Where the way Russ plays, he'll hyper target the tight ends like he did last week. He'll hyper target Jerry Jeudy some weeks. You never know who's gonna be the guy. So I'm a little worried about Sutton and Jeudy both, just because you never know which guy is going to be in it. And you saw it last week. And Sutton ended up having a good game, don't get me wrong. But, man, watching through that first half and saying, like, is Sutton even playing was a tough thing from a guy who owns Sutton in a whole bunch of places. So, for me, I think Edmonds is going to get the ball a lot in this game, likely some through the air. And I think you can't bench Higgins because he's playing. He cleared the protocol.
I like it. George, what do you got to add to that? Who do you got in this mix?
As much as I like Chase Edmonds, I really do respect that Baltimore Ravens defense. So I'm not going to go with Edmonds here. Give me Higgins off the concussion. Give me Cortland Sutton. I don't care that the fact that he was only targeted in the second half. That's why they play 4 quarters. It's like the old DeAndre Hopkins. Like, you used to have DeAndre Hopkins in the first 3 quarters, like, he'd have 4 points. And at the end of the game, he'd have 27. Why? Because the NFL, you play 4 quarters, not 1 half. Cortland Sutton, right now, he's tied for 26th overall in the NFL in yardage per game. His air yards, his average depth of target is 18 yards. Like, Russ really locked in on him in the second half, and he would have had even a bigger game if it wasn't for a couple of pass interferences by the defenders, not only in the first half, but in the second half as well. Give me Cortland Sutton. Give me T. Higgins, and let's roll.
So the point about second half is fair, and they had to play the second half. You know what I mean? They were behind all of that game. This week they're playing the Texans. You would hope or expect. Now I know the Colts hoped and expected they didn't need to play much in the second half against the Texans. You would hope and expect that would be the case here with the Broncos. We don't know, but that's kind of what you look at the Texans and go, well, maybe Cortland Sutton doesn't have a good first half, but everybody else does. And then maybe there's not a second half that they need to throw to. That would be my concern there. And I'm sorry, I've taken up more time than everybody else.
That's okay. Joe, what do you got here, buddy?
Yeah. You know, if Chase Edmonds is a funny one in general. I feel like when you ask 10 people about Chase Edmonds, you get 5 on one side, 5 on the other. I like Edmonds. I know it's a tough matchup. I just like the volume of touches he's capable of getting from week to week. I would probably sit Sutton for now he's kind of in that, I got to see him prove it to me genre of player. And honestly, concussion is my favorite injury to see a player come back from. Because I feel like once you clear that concussion protocol, you got the best potential of no residual. You got a high ankle sprain, but you're playing, it still hurts. If he's clear concussion protocol, no symptoms, hopefully no harm, no foul, and Higgins will be 100% today.
Excellent. So for my money, I'm going to go Higgins and Sutton myself. Sutton for me is a guy that, that's going to be one of the biggest overreactions, I think, is the Denver offense last week. They looked sloppy. They looked terrible. They looked like they maybe didn't play the whole entire preseason, which they didn't. They benched all their starters and everything like that, which that makes sense to me and I understand, but it shouldn't also surprise people what we saw come out of that. They were very disorganized. They had a lot of sloppy penalties and things like that. I think they can really put it together against Houston, especially in Denver. Like, I love it. I love getting my Denver Broncos in with Russell Wilson. I'm not out on that quite yet. And there's a lot of injuries that scare me when we get guys off the bench, but a concussion isn't one of them. I feel like T. Higgins is going to be full bore. I don't think he's going to be on any limited pitch count or any chance of a decoy or anything like that. And I feel like that's a team that's really going to light it up this week too, because they got shut down last week and they don't want to start out the season on a better note. So looks like Higgins and Sutton are for the majority. Although, to me, Edmonds is a great pick too, because Edmonds is a good guy to have. He should see quite a bit of volume today against that Baltimore defense. Hurst or Gesicki today. And I'll go ahead and start this one off because I haven't started one off yet. And this one seems terrible enough that Dirty Job should probably get the job started on this one. For me, it's actually Hayden Hurst. I can see that I feel like he's going to be getting a little bit more and more involved. And again, I think that offense is going to be lighting things up this week. So give me a piece of it. Definitely over Gesicki. I can't trust. I just can't trust it. He hasn't done anything. And George, you're the Dolphins guy. Tell us what you got.
So the true answer for this question for Gus should have been Gerald Everett. He should have done the trade with me. Well, he thought about it and he never got back to me. And I ended up playing Gerald Everett Thursday night, got 10 points in this league. Extremely happy with that production. So hit me up after this week, Gus. We'll revisit this trade. I thought it was fair. Treylon Burks for Gerald Everett. The dude's loaded at wide receiver. I'm going Hayden Hurst here. The Dolphins, for some reason, they want Gesicki to put his hand in the dirt. They want him to be a blocking tight end. That's not what he's good at. Gus knows that. He's a Dolphins fan. Gesicki very, very, very rarely targeted last week. So give me Hayden Hurst.
Hey, do we have a breaking news? Like, we need a breaking news something.
We'll get a breaking news button for sure.
But yes, we have just a little quick breaking injury news. It looks like Detroit has declared DeAndre Swift active. However, it's being reported that he may have a reduced role today. So not to interrupt, but I feel like that is relevant.
Hey, that's the kind of stuff you interrupt for. Does anybody have any arguments about getting Gesicki in over Hurst?
So I don't think anybody's going to say Gesicki over Hurst. Sorry.
Okay. So now I'm going to get to my next question. Would any of you all trade Gerald Everett for Treylon Burks?
So listen, if I was wide receiver, and this isn't dynasty, right, George? This is redraft.
There's a 16 team half-point PPR redraft league.
Okay, that changes things a bit for me.
And I'll go through and.
Oh, you don't have to do that.
I'm just curious.
He's wide receiver heavy. He doesn't have a great tight end. But here's the deal. I don't know that he needs to make this trade if he's got Hayden Hurst. Hayden Hurst had the 5th most targets from a tight end last week. He looked pretty good. He got 9 points, which is just in week 1, which is just 1 point shy of what week 2 is, depending on your league scoring, George. I'm not sure if it's full PPR or half.
It's half.
Okay, so it last week would have been 7.5 points. It's only 2.5 points difference. I don't know that you need to give up a wide receiver for that. But I see Hayden Hurst stock rising, not falling. I like Hayden Hurst week to week. And like his usage last week shows me that he's a week to week starter. So I don't know that he has to go out and get Gerald Everett, but I'll let everybody else decide that.
I made a mistake in this league. His tight ends are actually Albert Obegwandum and Kyle Rudolph. So it's a different league.
Shit.
Different league. Okay.
Well, that changes everything. We'll go on to the next one. He says, "Go Dolphins, baby!" The shout out there for George. We got Mini Jordan 718. He says, "Full PPR. Choose a wide receiver, running back, and a flex." We got Brees Hall, Ramondre Stevenson, Darnell Mooney, DJ Chark, Drake London, Isaiah McKenzie, Romeo Dubs. I have the option to pick up Ingram and Dortch. Jason, you haven't led one off for a minute. Who do you think on this one?
Ooh, okay. Wide receiver, I think I'm gonna full PPR. I think I'm gonna go DJ Chark here. I think he's gonna get a lot of targets in a full PPR. I am a fan of DJ Chark. Running back until Brees Hall gets out from the shadow there, I'm gonna take Ramondre Stevenson, and then I think my flex would be a lot of options. I think my flex is gonna be Drake London.
Drake London. Excellent. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, I'm staying away from anybody New York Jets for the foreseeable future. So Hall, in my opinion, is already out to begin with. I like Shark as well in a PPR. I don't typically take anybody from the Detroit Lions, but I think he's going to have a decent amount of targets, and I like him PPR wise. I actually will agree on London as well. Mariota's the quarterback. He's kind of on his comeback here. I think that London will probably see some more action and get things rolling. Stevenson. Now, anybody in the Patriots offense hasn't done much traditionally with Matt Patricia as offensive coordinator. I don't know if we'll see much from him going forward, but with those options, Stevenson is probably the guy in New England, so I'd go that route too.
Excellent. Joe, who do you got here?
Yeah, I think we've all hit the nail on the head here. So I would go Stevenson. I'm going to play the points in that Detroit game and go Shark, and I would probably go London also. I like Isaiah McKenzie a lot. I just
especially
don't know
if Gabe Davis is out.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if Gabe Davis is out, McKenzie's definitely in that flex spot for me in this scenario for sure.
That's what I was thinking too. I like McKenzie in my flex spot if Gabe Davis is out.
But the problem is, real quick though, it's irrelevant to say that though, because they're Monday night, so it sucks. It's one of those situations where you have to play the injury news now. You can't wait unless you have Gabe Davis too and McKenzie. But
right. But that's probably hopefully few and far between. That'd be a sad bench. George, what do you got to add to this one?
So I'm on the Ramondre train. I believe right now that him and Harris are really the only two running backs that are healthy for the Patriots. So give me Ramondre. For the wide receiver, I actually like Darnell Mooney. I completely wrote off all Bears and all 49ers last week. I said, if you're starting anybody in that game, the only player really worth starting is Debo. But they're not playing in a monsoon this week. There's not 6 inches of water on the field. I expect Mooney to have a nice bounce back week. So I'm going to go with Mooney here. And then for the flex, it does come down to DJ Chark and Drake London for me. I'm a little concerned that Drake London will get shadowed by Jalen Ramsey. So I'm going to lean more towards DJ Chark. And I get like last week, Ramsey didn't look really good, but Drake London is not Cooper Kupp and Marcus Mariota is not Matt Stafford. So I'm going to lean more towards DJ Chark. So for me, it would be Ramondre, Mooney, and Chark.
I love it. Actually, that's who I was going with there too, but it looks like we got outvoted there, George, by Looks like Chark, Ramondre, and Drake London is the consensus ranking for that one. Justin says Frankenstein must start 4 and 2 must be wide receivers. Taysom versus Tampa Bay, Paris Campbell at Jacksonville, Lazard at Chicago, Boyd at Dallas, Josh Jacobs versus Chicago, and Gibson at Detroit. This looks confusing. George, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, so he's got to start 4, 2 must be wide receivers. So let's address the 2 wide receivers first. I'm going to go Lazard versus Chicago because, as Aaron Rodgers said, it's nice to have a wide receiver 1 and a future Hall of Famer on the team. So I'm going to go with Lazard there. And then I'm leaning, I guess Paris Campbell, given all the injuries that are right now in Indianapolis. Who else are they going to throw to besides Naheem Hines and maybe Mo Alley Cox, right? So the 2 wide receivers, I'll go Lazard and Paris Campbell. And then I'm starting Josh Jacobs and I'm starting Antonio Gibson.
I like it. Joe, who do you got?
Yeah, Lazard and Campbell. I would have loved Boyd if Higgins was out. Love Boyd anytime any of those top 2, Bengal wide receivers are out, but you just being number 3. And then, Gibson and Jacobs. It's not as confusing once you really dive into it, I don't think. But,
we're
Paris Campbell.
Going out of your way to say you're sitting Taysom and Josh Jacobs. Jason, what do you say here?
No, I'm with this is a weird one for me because I'm actually with George. So Paris Campbell and Lazard for me, and then Josh Jacobs and Antonio Gibson.
I'm going to go look outside and see if the sky has fallen or anything like that real fast. I will be right back. No, Jeff, what do you got there, buddy? You got anything to add? Any differences?
I just think it's kind of the consensus all the way around Lazard because Rodgers owns the Bears as we've seen. He's going to have a bounce back week 2, I guarantee. Matt Ryan's got to throw to somebody, so I'd roll with Campbell. Antonio Gibson is way underrated, and Josh Jacobs, just versus that Arizona defense, is poised for a big week. I'm going consensus.
I like it, and so I will not change anything there either. I like it. We got our man Dustin Patreon. It says, "What up, gentlemen? Gordon or Michael Carter in the flex? Alex, check your face." And Alex isn't even here to defend himself. That's awesome. I love it. I love talking trash on Alex when he can't do anything about it. We're going to go ahead and start this one off with you, Jeff. Who do you got, Carter or Gordon?
I'd go with Gordon. I know that they got Javonte Williams also in the backfield, but I think Gordon gets some decent targets in the passing game as well. They'll give him some carries, and he'll probably get in the end zone. I'd go Gordon.
Gordon, I like it. I like it. Joe, you got anything there?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I don't know. I guess I'll go Melvin Gordon on this one also.
Melvin Gordon as well. Jason, what do you got?
Give me the starter for his team. I'm going to take Michael Carter.
There you go. That's actually kind of, so I'll go next. That's what I'm thinking. So, George, you're breaking the tie here, buddy. You got 2 for Gordon, 2 for Carter.
So last week at the red zone, at the goal line, literally, Melvin Gordon fumbled.
He did.
And what did they do? Next play, they handed it right off to Melvin Gordon when they had the chance. So I'm going to go with Melvin Gordon here. I do like Michael Carter, but as I've been saying all offseason, Michael Carter is going to start the year as the main running back in New York, and we all expect Breece Hall to slowly take over that. So I see a even more of a reduced role for Michael Carter this week and every week going forward. So give me Melvin Gordon.
Look, all I'm saying is Boone would not have fumbled on the red zone. I don't know, or on the goal line. I don't know why they just didn't give it to him.
I completely agree.
Oh, they look so sloppy in that red zone last week. That game still haunts my memories. It's like, man, I was so excited to have Russell Wilson be the starting quarterback for the Broncos, and that was just grotesque. I tell you what. Steve Evans says, any concerns about Higgins being a decoy? I don't like, that's one of the ones, the concussion ones. I mean, if you're clear by those doctors, to me, you're good to go. You're probably running at 100%. Anybody have an argument with that? No. Nope, that's a full agreement. I thought so. I figured you guys would be there. Jerry Bagshot says Paris Campbell, Dortch, or Zay Jones. And Jason, why don't you go ahead and lead us off on this one?
I'm just not going to be able to say Dortch with any confidence because his name is Dortch. I'm going to say Paris. I'm going to say Paris Campbell. Like George said earlier, he's the only guy there to throw to besides the backfield. So Paris Campbell for me.
Until people start calling him Dortch the Torch, like I want him to. I'm going to go with Paris Campbell as well. George, who do you got?
Yeah, just because George and Dortch rhyme, don't mean I'm going there. I
don't think they actually rhyme though.
They're close. George,
okay.
Dortch, they're close. They're very close. I'm going to go with the consensus. I'm going Paris Campbell.
Paris Campbell. Joe, what do you got? Joe, what do you know?
Paris Campbell. I'm
Paris
going
Campbell,
volume.
We reviewed this about 5 minutes ago, and kind of outlined Matt Ryan's got to throw somebody's a statue in the pocket. It's got to be Campbell.
Got to be Campbell. I love it. Kevin Foot says, thanks, fellas. Sounds like Evans is a lock. Sutton Edmond is the judgment call. And like Rich says, go Sutton. I'm telling you. You'll thank us later. We got Brandon Williams. First, he says, good morning, fellas. And then he says, PPR. Running back 2 in a flex. He's got Najee with the foot versus New England. We got Dillon versus Chicago. Etienne versus Indy. Renfro versus Arizona. And he also has Curtis Samuel at Detroit. So we need a running back and a flex. And Joe, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, this one's like overreaction Mondays, right? I don't know. I mean, I don't love the matchup for Harris, but he's playing. Najee's playing. He's starting. They don't have much else to do there with Trubisky. So, and that's going to be a run-heavy defensive game in general. So I think let's not overthink it. I think you got to go Najee. I love this version of Curtis Samuel if it sticks for Washington. I'm just not quite sure I'm ready to jump Renfro in Etienne. I don't know where I go for the flex. So that part's tough. Definitely Harris. And I guess I will go, you know what? Screw it. I am going to go Curtis Samuel. I loved what he did. I loved how they used him week 1.
I like it. Jason, what do you got? You look surprised by that reaction.
I was just getting ready to say, like, he's got so many options that I didn't think he needed Curtis Samuel on this list.
In there, I know.
Yeah. And look, I like what
I take a shot. You're going to go smarter.
So I like what they did with Curtis Samuel week 1. Don't get me wrong, but I think, I think I'm playing Najee because he's playing. But God, if it wasn't Najee in a first round draft grade, I might start Dillon and Etienne both over. So I think I'm going to take Najee and Dillon and not try and get too cute with Curtis Samuel, knowing that like Etienne and Renfro are both great options. So I think I'm going Najee and Dillon.
I think I'm starting to get to know Jeff, so I'm going to wonder if I think I got his answer right. But go ahead, Jeff. What do you got?
Well, I think it's funny. All of a sudden, Joe is on the Carson Wentz train, man. You love that guy. I don't get it, but what are you going to do? Najee, obviously, to me, that's a no-brainer. And I think this is going to be a big breakout week for A.J. Dillon. I think he gets in the end zone a couple times. I'm rolling with Dillon, too.
I thought that was going to be your answer. I thought you were going with Najee and Dillon. George, what do you got?
Yeah, this is easy. It's Najee and Dillon. Next question, please.
I like it. I like the Curtis Samuel call, but I'm going to lean with the majority here. I'm also starting Dillon. I think Dillon has a big week. There's a guy who claims to own the Chicago Bears. His name is Aaron Rodgers, and he got embarrassed last week. I love playing Aaron Rodgers post-embarrassment because he usually just lights it up and shows us exactly why he is who he is. Steve Soleil says, is Leonard Fournette trustworthy today, or should I put Jarvis Landry in a slot in the flex? I mean, he's also got CeeDee Lamb or Devin Duvernay. Jeff, lead us off. What do you got?
I mean, you got to stick with Fournette. He's up there with targets. Tom Brady's got to go to somebody. He gets the carries. He gets the targets in the short passing game. I don't know how you get away from Fournette.
I like it. Joe, what do you got to add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%, especially because there's not a lot of sure things in that lineup right now based on injuries. Real quick on the Duvernay thing, I've gotten the same questions about guys on the same team this week. And Duvernay, like I've gotten questions, who do you like more, Duvernay or Bateman? I've gotten questions, who do you like more this week, Curtis Samuel or Dotson? And I've gotten the same question. I'll give you one more, not to veer off, with Henderson and Akers. So it's been real interesting. Like, to me, those same names and questions have been brought to me, God, probably 10 times, if not more, this week. I see Duvernay there. I wouldn't go, him in that situation, but I'd love to get you guys' thoughts at some point on those three kind of same team scenarios, because it's all fantasy relevant players who have good matchups this week too. It's just a matter of what direction do you go in.
Hey, I just want to jump in real quick and say Alvin Kamara is officially out for today. So if you were leaning on whether or not to play him or not, given the rib injury, thinking he might just have a reduced role, his reduced role has been down to 0 because he's not playing.
Yikes. That's hurting a lot of my fantasy lineups right there. I got him late in a lot of leagues due to the suspension. So I was loving on that. I do like Duvernay a lot, but I do feel like Leonard Fournette's the consistency play here. I do believe Duvernay has carved himself a role, at least in that Baltimore offense, but I do feel like Bateman will be still the premier receiver there. Whereas I see CeeDee Lamb being a guy who can separate and become the one. And I mean, like I was saying last night on Dash of DFS, I hate to say it because I know it makes a lot of Dallas fans angry when I say I don't think Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback anymore. I think he got figured out, and I think once he got figured out, he wasn't able to adapt. This injury could be a blessing for that Dallas Cowboys team. We might be able to see what a difference in a different quarterback can make, because you don't have a lot of film on Cooper Rush. You don't have a lot of speculation on what this guy can do. I mean, there is some, but that was all before he had another year under his belt. So, like I said, this could be a good thing. CeeDee Lamb could have a rise again. And I think Jarvis Landry is probably playing third fiddle there. I think Olave is starting to get a little bit more involved as the season goes on. And I think Michael Thomas proved that he's back, 2 touchdowns. Jason, what do you got to add to this?
I think I'm going to say Fournette here, although Landry's interesting in the slot because there's 3 weapons there, and I think Landry's going to have the bigger game of the 3 of the wide receivers there in a PPR for sure. Lots of short passes, that kind of thing. What I'll say here is Fournette, I think that's going to be running, grind the game out, especially with Julio Jones being game time decision and being injured, Chris Godwin being out, both Gage and Evans were on the injury report early and had days off this week. So that wide receiver room is not healthy. That offensive line has problems. I haven't looked to see if Smith's going to be in the game yet. He had I think it was a hyperextended elbow. So they may have a young left tackle there, not their standard left tackle in. So all that points to me is Tom Brady handing the ball off. And that's also, Arians not being the head coach anymore and them having a defensive head coach and wanting to run the ball more and grind out games versus air it out. I can see it being a big Leonard Fournette week, assuming he stays healthy throughout the game.
Excellent. So it looks like Leonard Fournette leans out on this one by quite a bit. So like Rich says, if Fournette plays, you play him. We're going to go ahead and jump over to a couple of sleeper wire questions here. We got John Light starting Aaron Jones. Who should he start in his flex? AJ Dillon or Chase Edmonds in a single PPR? And I'm going to go ahead and lead this one off with you, George.
This is going to be AJ Dillon again. It's against the Bears, which is a weaker defense. We've seen how involved AJ Dillon was last week. I mean, they used him a lot. They used Aaron Jones a lot. They're really going to rely on those 2 running backs. They're both flex worthy. Chase Edmonds, I like him, but the Dolphins are going to use multiple backs. So they're going to use Chase Edmonds. They're going to use Raheem Mostert. They're going to hand the ball to Alex Ingold. Like, you may see Savon Ahmed again. Like, the Dolphins just want to use all their running backs. So there's not going to be a guaranteed volume for these running backs. If you watched the Dolphins game last week, like, Raheem Mostert almost broke 2 large runs. He had to make one guy miss, and if he did, it was off to the races for 30, 40-plus yards and probably a touchdown. So Chase is definitely going to be involved more in the passing game, even though he's technically their starter. But A.J. Dillon is just an absolute beast. He's going to get more volume than Chase. So for me, this would be A.J. Dillon.
A.J. Dillon. Joe, what do you got to add to that?
This is a good one. And I really like Chase Edmonds a lot because I like him in a PPR for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I will go with George and play the matchup, right? In theory, Packers bounce back. They win this one 27-6. And Dillon gets a lot of second half touches and, gets in the end zone and everybody goes home happy. So I'll go Dillon based on the matchup. But that one, my answer to this one could change week to week based on the matchup and injuries and stuff like that. That's a good one.
I like that answer a lot because I feel the same exact way about both of these backs. Jeff, what do you got on here?
I mean, I mentioned that I think Dillon's going to get in the end zone a couple times. I'm staying away from anybody. Miami Dolphins, as we mentioned last night in that matchup against Baltimore. So to me, A.J. Dillon is the guy to roll with.
A.J. Dillon is for 3. Jason, are you getting ready to start Chase Edmonds on us to make this confusing?
No, not at all. No, I like Chase Edmonds this week. Don't get me wrong. I like the volume I think he'll see, but it's going to be A.J. Dillon for me. Just more playing time, easier path to touchdowns in this game.
And I'll say Chase Edmonds because one of us is going to be right next week. No, I'm just kidding. I'm actually A.J. Dillon as well. But we needed that for the sound clip, right, guys? Like, I want to start this guy, and then I could get in there with some breakdown analysis on Chase Edmonds for commercial purposes and things like that. No, just goofing around, though. We'll definitely go in A.J. Dillon. We're not getting cute. That's a team that it's actually kind of crazy that we can start their running back 1, running back 2. It's kind of like Cleveland. Yeah. I don't mind starting Chubb and Hunt in the same team either.
Hey, Mike, according to Jeff Darlington, it doesn't look like Julio is going to be playing.
Julio out. Okay, yeah. So I'm like
Russell Gage.
Actually, I think that means I've got to go. I think I have to go be a wide receiver for Tampa Bay because I think they just keep running out. So I think anybody can go get that job. I'm just going to try to be the first come, first serve guy and see if I can get some rock from Tom Brady. We got Andrew JD says non-PPR pick 1, Drake London, Curtis Samuel, Allen Lazard. Jason, who you got?
Let's see. Ooh, I'm going to go. God, I like Drake London so much. I'm going to say Allen Lazard though. The Packers showed last week just how badly they needed him. And I think he'll make up for last week this week.
I like it. Jeff, who do you got?
I'm going to stay with Lazard too. I kind of have a feeling I know who Joe's going with, seeing as his inclination towards Carson Wentz. But Lazard, we saw Rodgers last year off of that embarrassing loss from New Orleans, bounce back the following week and go 30. The final score being 35-17. The second week at Detroit, I think a similar thing happens during this week. Lazard's the guy. I think he's getting the targets.
Excellent. Jason, what do you got to add to that?
Oh, I already said Allen Lazard.
You already said Allen Lazard. Sorry, it gets confusing. Georgia, you were the one that I missed then.
Yeah, I'm going to go Allen Lazard. I like Drake London. Again, as I stated earlier, I'm just concerned he's going to get shadowed by Ramsey. And I'm not trusting Marcus Mariota to be able to make those connections. Curtis Samuel, I like the way that they used him last week. I'm not sold with this Carson Wentz love that Joe has. So I'm going to go with Allen.
I don't, but I'm ready for it because the guy had 11 targets, 8 catches, and then 4 carries on top of that. So I will take 15 touches, 19 targets for the poor man, Deebo Samuel, and I will give a crack at Curtis this week. Because of that matchup, there would be weeks I would take Lazard. I agree with staying away from London because of Ramsey in that matchup, but throw me Curtis Samuel again. I'll go all in on Carson Wentz for the first 2 weeks, and then we'll throw him on the side of the road.
So what I'm go then is Curtis Samuel is what you get when you order Deebo Samuel from Wish.
I love it.
That's awesome. I love Curtis Samuel this week as well. I think that's a solid play. I think the volume will be there. I think we're seeing a revolution with Carson Wentz. I think we found an offense that works for his arm. We got Greggy B says Ayuk in bad weather or Julio potentially limited. Half PPR. This is solved, right? Like Julio is out, so don't start Julio Jones. And then we'll get back to some sleeper questions here in a few. We'll get back to the line up the lives, the guys who are listening to us here. Where we at on this one? We got Brandon Williams says PPR wide receiver 2, CD, no Dak, Devontae versus Minnesota, or Lockett at San Francisco. Joe, who do you got here?
That was an interesting week for Devonta Smith, considering they put up 38. Lockett, man, I'm going CD. He's the best. Lockett's the number 2 there technically because of Metcalf. Devonta's the number 2 there, obviously, because of AJ Brown. So if we're using the same equation that we have been all episode and talking about starting and touches and opportunities, I'm going CD Lamb.
CD, I love it. And then let's go with you, George. Who do you got?
Yeah, it's CD Lamb for me. I think I had as many or more targets than Devonta Smith did last week. Tyler Lockett, like, his ceiling is really limited with Geno Smith. Even though Geno Smith looked good last week, like, his ceiling is just so limited. Give me CD Lamb with no Dak.
CeeDee Lamb with no Dak. I like it. I didn't like what I saw with Devontae, so I'm actually going to hop on that one too. Jason, who do you got here?
Yeah, it's same for me. CD with no Dak, because I think CD with no Dak is better than Lockett with Geno. Or
I'm
whatever.
Such a 2-year-old or 12-year-old man.
I know exactly. I'm exactly where you are, Mike.
Yeah, I keep on going. You said Dak. Jeff, what do you got, buddy?
I mean, I'm bucking the trend. I'm going Devonta Smith. You know my feelings about Cooper Rush and what might happen today. Geno Smith is going to turn back into Geno Smith against San Francisco. So I like Devonta Smith today.
Likes Devonta Smith. And then, George, what do you got here, bud?
I know you did that just because I was drinking water, you dick.
That's what I do, buddy. That's what I do. I wait for that moment.
And I already said CD with no Dak, you son of a goose.
Oh, I love it. See, even better. See, like I said, it's all about that training, George. It's all about how you train your mind and how you train your reaction. So I have to do it every single time. So we all have it looks like we all have CD except for one. We had one for Dak there. So hopefully,
Brandon, if you don't change your CD no Dak, I'm disappointed. Right. I mean, right there, you just typed it out. It's change your team name. It's disappointing if you know.
It's now no Dak. It's got to be no Dak, or else you've just got no Dak. That's what we're talking about here. We got Steve Soleil says Darrell Henderson versus Atlanta or Josh Jacobs versus Arizona. I'm going to go with Henderson. I liked what I saw out of him. I liked the volume, and I think Cam Akers is going to be a guy that watches and learns how to play this game from him until he can prove otherwise. Jeff, who do you got?
I'm going to stick with Henderson too. For whatever reason, it seemed like Akers was going to be the guy to start the season, but as we saw last game, they kept going to Henderson. He did well last year, did well last week. I think he continues that trend in the running game and the short passing game. So I'd go with Henderson.
I was just catching up with the chat on that. Cracks me up too, Justin. George, what do you got here, bud?
So I'm in a 16-team league, and I've actually benched Cam Akers this week. And it's sad because I've replaced him with Rex Burkhead. I was planning on replacing him with J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is not going to play. So,
attaboy, Georgie.
So I'm off the Cam Akers, but the problem is like, would it surprise anybody, and I mean anybody, to see Cam Akers come out and get the workload this week that Darrell Henderson had last week? I would say no. It should not surprise anybody. I want to get a more clearer picture on that backfield on what they're doing. So give me Josh Jacobs versus Atlanta. At least I know Josh Jacobs is going to get the starters touches. He's going to get a full workload. Play it safe. It's a good matchup against Arizona anyway. They're not that great against the run.
Yep, I like it. Jason, do you have anything to change there?
So I thought Henderson looked like the better back of the two last week, but I am going to go Josh Jacobs because, again, we have no idea what Akers is going to do this week. You and all the rest of us can look at the running backs and go, Henderson is obviously the better back there when he's healthy, and he's healthy. The problem is we're not the coach, and the coach there obviously can't see it sometimes. So I think personally, I'm just going to go with Josh Jacobs. There's less muddy situation. I'm with George on that one too.
Excellent. So you got 3-2. So there you go. We got Chad Rohn says, "What up, titles?" He says 14 non-PPR. Wentz or Lance? He has Julio in my flex, but unsure of knee. Is it worth dropping KJ Osborne to pick up Sterling Shepard or Paris Campbell to start or hold and start Drake London? So this has quite a few moving pieces. Joe, I'm going to start with you, our resident Carson Wentz fan.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Detroit, he's gonna throw 4 picks. He's gonna throw 3 touchdowns. He's gonna throw for 350 yards. So who gives a shit if he wins or loses? He's gonna be riding that fantasy point train. Choo choo, Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz, I love it. Now, what about the second half of that question?
Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz over KJ Osborne, Sterling Shepard, Paris Campbell.
I was looking. I'm a Giant fan. I was thinking about Sterling Shepard, and he caught a big play ball last week. I don't like London with Ramsey, so I guess I would probably go Paris Campbell here. If you wanted 7 or 8 points for sure, Shepard's probably safer, but Campbell's probably got a little more upside than Shepard today.
And definitely has the volume play. I'm with you on both of those. I'm with Wentz and Paris Campbell. I'd be dropping KJ Osborne to get him as well. Jeff, what do you got here, bud?
It's funny. Joe says if you want 7 or 8, whoever wants just 7 or 8 points, you gotta go Paris Campbell. Come on now, Joseph. And I will agree with you on Wentz. As much as I like Trey Lance and I think he could use his feet, he still needs to prove himself. Amazingly, Carson Wentz has kind of proven himself. As much as it pains me to agree with Joe on that one, I'll go with those two.
Excellent. No, I like it. And then so George, what do you got here?
So I'm not going Carson Wentz for starters. Give me Trey Lance. Again, I wrote off all the Bears last week and all 49ers last week except for Debo because of the weather. This is going to be a much better situation for Lance. And he's going to give you that very safe floor with his rushing abilities. So I would go Lance over Wentz. I didn't draft Lance as early as I did to just play Carson Wentz, who I can pick up off the waivers. As far as the Julio Jones and his flex spot, sure, the knee. Well, Chad, if you haven't already heard, he's out for the game, so you can get him out of your flex. And as far as dropping KJ Osborne to pick up Sterling Shepard or Paris Campbell, I would hold both of those. I would hold on KJ Osborne, and I would actually start Drake London. So that's what I would.
Jason, what do you got here, bud?
I'm with George on Lance 100%. I'm in with George, and I've it seems like we've come to a kind of
we've gone to therapy. We're now, we're
both dialed in. We're both right here.
Well, so at least on quarterbacks, I am okay dropping KJ Osborne because I didn't see a lot of usage last week. I'm not that high on him as a player this week and going forward. So I'm okay dropping KJ Osborne and starting somebody like Paris Campbell. We've been off Drake London because of being shadowed by Ramsey. If it was a better player you had to hold on to, like if you said, do I drop Julio for Paris Campbell? I would probably just start Drake London. But I'm good dropping KJ Osborne and starting Paris Campbell.
Excellent. So that's 3 for Wentz and everybody basically saying drop KJ Osborne for Paris Campbell, except for George, but follow George at your own risk. We got full PPR. We got with Winston and Kamara both potentially limited this week, and I think one's definitely out. I didn't hear anything about Winston yet. Hawkinson versus Washington or Taysom versus Tampa Bay. I would say Hawkinson versus Washington. I did like his usage. I think we saw Taysom Hill's entire season production happen last week. George is shaking his head. What do you think, George?
So I like Taysom Hill as a player. I think what he can do on the field and the headaches that he gives defensive coordinators for the Saints is absolutely phenomenal. Like, this is a guy you got to scheme for both the run, the pass, the receiving. Like, he does it all. But I'm not starting him over TJ Hawkinson. I cannot do that. I would go at Hawkinson here and not get too cute.
Agreed.
Excellent. Joe, you're agreeing? Hawkinson?
Just not too cute. Just the theme in general, especially after 1 week. It's just whether it's Devontae Smith 0, whether it's a Dotson for 2 touchdowns in Washington. It's 1 week. You drafted a team. I just not to overreact. And this is a good, in my opinion, example of that. I go Hawkinson for sure.
Hawkinson for sure as well. I'm like I said, I'm on Hawkinson. Jeff, do you got anything different there?
I know what you're getting with Hawkinson. He's certainly dependable, gets a lot of targets. To me, Taysom Hill is very enticing because he does have that X factor. I'd actually take the flyer on Taysom Hill just because of how they utilize him in that offense.
Excellent. I like it. So that's a pretty good split. You got both sides on the fence there. We're going to go ahead and kick over real fast to a couple more sleeper questions here. We got Sweet Pete 1034 half point, Singletary, Darius People-Jones, or Rashad Penny today. Jason, start us off.
I think I'm going to go with Rashad Penny. And mostly because as much as I love Singletary when we see him on the field, man, they're splitting it at least 2 ways with Zach Moss and potentially 3 ways with James. I think Singletary's the best back there. They just don't use him that way. I'm taking Rashad Penny as the only guy in town. I
like it. George, what do you got?
So I think the devil went down to San Francisco and said, let's start Rashad Penny.
So a good way to say it, Rashad Penny. Jeff, what do you got, buddy?
As much as I like Donovan Peoples-Jones, especially in a daily scenario this week, you can't stray away from Rashad Penny. He had some tremendous production last season when he was healthy. We saw what he was capable of last week. I think Penny's the guy. He's getting the touches and the targets in the short passing game.
I like it. Joe, what do you got here? Do you disagree?
This is a good one because I have Singletary and Penny in a league, and I've been going back and forth on which one to play, and I like People-Jones. I think Jeff's right. I think you leave People-Jones for your DFS play. I'm going to take the points on this one. Seattle could get shut out. I mean, at San Francisco, there's no guarantee they're even going to sniff that end zone. So I'm going to take the fact that we know Buffalo is going to go for 27 plus and hope that Singletary, despite whoever said it about the timeshare there, plus Josh Allen takes some of those red zone carries too, to be completely honest. But I'm going to go Singletary because I know they're going to score some points in that game.
So you had 4 for Penny because I'm playing Penny. I told the guy Penny as well. You got 4 of us for Penny, 1 for Singletary with a good argument. I think that's fair. I think Singletary could show it, but Buffalo's running back. It's like the whole AFC East, the whole running back scheme in that whole entire area has just become unnavigable. I just don't like it anymore. We got Bench Points Champ says start 2, Higgins, Bateman, Edmonds, or Sutton. And I'll go ahead and start this one off. I like Higgins and Sutton here. Although I bet we do hear a couple of Batemans like right now. Jason, what do you got?
It is Higgins and Bateman for me. We've talked about Sutton earlier. So I'm going to say Bateman.
Excellent. Jeff, what do you got there, bud?
Well, as I've mentioned a few times, I'm staying completely away from this Miami Ravens game, so I'm going Higgins and Sutton.
Higgins and Sutton. Joe?
It's funny, we're seeing the same names. I mean, how many? All four of these guys we've answered multiple questions on, I think, today, except maybe Bateman. Higgins for sure. Edmonds, because I like Edmonds in a PPR. Higgins and
I
Edmonds
love
in a
it. I
PPR.
love it. What about you, George?
I'm sticking to what I said earlier. Give me Higgins and give me Sutton.
So Higgins and Sutton for the win. That's three of us on Higgins and Sutton. I like it, though. I do like Bateman a lot this week. This is the way to go, says Rams D, Browns D, Bengals D. I don't know if I could be any higher on the Bengals D than I am on any other team this week. I know we went off about it last night on our DFS show. I think all of us had the Bengals sitting in for our daily defenses there, just because of the opportunity. Joe, you're agreeing with me. You're still on the Bengals D. Jeff, we know you're on the Bengals D.
Yeah.
George, what do you say right here? Oh, do you have something to add here, Jeff?
Well, just with a caveat to that, I'm on the Bengals on the daily just because they're cheaper. I really like the Browns though. I've told you, Joe Flacco got his AARP card last game. I think Myles Garrett gets after him, and I like the Browns, but I like the Bengals better in a daily scenario.
Excellent. Okay, so I was wrong on that. Joe, what about you then? Since I spoke for you as well,
sir, you can speak for me anytime you would like. I think Jeff hit the nail on the head. They're all three great matchups, maybe potentially the three best defensive matchups for the week fantasy wise. The Bengals are tracking as the cheapest on DFS, so I would go the Bengals. If you really got all three of them on your team, I'd probably go the Browns also and just pick on the Jets the most, although I like the Rams got to be angry this week and ready to bring it too.
Excellent. Jason, who do you got here, bud?
So I know you're on George's D, but I'm going Browns.
Coach would say it's a kid's show.
So the other thing I quickly want to mention is the fact that the most fit guy on the show is standing the whole time. I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, that's why he's the most fit guy. You don't catch me standing up for nothing. Not even the president, I don't think. George, what do you got here, bud?
Yeah, my D is the Browns. Everybody's been on my D for this week, so let's just let it ride. It's going to be the Browns against the Jets. The Jets are a terrible team.
There you go. Hey, I hope we see a little bit of different thing out of the Jets. Like I said last night, it's funny how often all of us were talking about how the Jets killed it in the offseason, and boy, they killed it is what is right, but probably not in the context that everybody was meaning back then at the time. Let's see here. Let's get back to the questions in here. We got Adam with Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore. He needs one receiver spot and one for a flex. So who are we sitting out of this mix right here? For me, I'll go ahead and start this one off as the resident Broncos fan. I'm actually sitting Cortland Sutton here. I like DJ Moore coming out this week. Javonte Williams looked amazing last week. I think we see a lot more of that. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Joe.
Sitting Sutton.
Sitting Sutton?
Sitting Sutton.
Sitting Sutton. Jeff, what do you got, bud?
I agree. I think the obvious answer is Sutton. DJ Moore is going to get a lot of targets. It's a great matchup versus the Giants, and we saw what Javonte Williams can do. Sutton's the easy answer on this one.
Sutton easy. What about you, Jason? Bateman?
Bateman for sure. No, the only reason I'm sitting Sutton is because I'm starting Javonte, and I don't want both of those guys. But I'm not super high on DJ Moore in general. Just, it seems like he didn't have great rapport with Baker, so it'll be interesting to see going forward. I like DJ Moore. I have him too many places to say this, but until I see it with Baker, I typically would have started Sutton, but because I don't want two Broncos, I'll take Javonte and DJ Moore.
I get that. George, what about you?
Yeah, I really like Cortland Sutton this week, but I agree with Jason's analysis. I don't want to start both Sutton and Williams, especially the other option is DJ Moore. Like, DJ Moore is an absolutely fantastic option to have. So I'm going to go with DJ Moore, and I'm going to go with Javonte Williams here.
I like it. Okay, so that's pretty much a sweep for that one as well. Justin says with Kamara out, does he start Taysom over Josh Jacobs or Antonio Gibson in the Frankenstein now with the bonuses? I think you should start Kamara actually just on the hopes that maybe if you put him in your lineup, he will actually just maybe go out there and play for you. He'll see that. He'll get excited. And it might be worth noting that he's facing me in the Frankenstein this week. Right there. So I'd play Kamara right here. I don't know about you. What about you, George? Who would you play right here?
Yeah, so knowing that Justin is playing you, I would definitely go with Kamara.
Kamara for sure.
Yeah,
what about you, Jason?
I remember that touchdown game Kamara had, right? Like, wasn't he supposed to be out that week? I don't know.
Exactly.
Playing against you, Mike, I think he should probably just go ahead and sit Jacobs and Antonio Gibson at a principal and then start Kamara.
I think so. That's what I'm saying. Like the guy, he doesn't want me to steal these players, right? Like that's what we're looking out for here, Justin. We want to save your players because we know I'm going to tromp you this week. For real though, Jeff, who do you start here? Do you start Taysom over Josh Jacobs or Antonio Gibson? On the real, I would not. I think I'm starting Josh Jacobs and Antonio Gibson.
I'm wondering if that's a serious question. I know that if I said Taysom
I just shifted to serious, yeah.
Taysom is an X factor, but he's not worthy of starting over those two guys.
Gotcha. Joe, do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Joe got the thumbs up. So all of us would probably start Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Justin. I like giving you a hard time and really good luck this week. I hope it's a close game because it started off pretty good on my side, but you know how that goes with Frankenstein. I'll be down 200 points by 3:00 this afternoon. We got Brandon Williams who says PPR flex, Michael Carter, Taysom, Lockett, Dubs, Devontae. Woo, that's a good little situation to have right there in some of these. I think I'm going to start this off with you, Jason. What do you like?
I'm taking Michael Carter.
I like it. That's who I'm actually leaning to is Michael Carter. That's who stuck out for me first. I just like the volume there. What about you? Is that why you want Carter in this situation?
Oh, me. I like Carter because it's volume versus like Lockett's not getting volume. Taysom's a gadget player. Dubs didn't do much last week, and I'm never really going to say Devonta. So Michael Carter for me. Yep,
that's what I'm at. Joe, what do you got to say there?
Yeah, this is a tough one too. This is a really tough one too. But I'm going to go Carter just because I don't know what to make yet of any of those wideouts.
Oh, hold on. Term. Before this is going to change everything for me because the next message is also Damian Harris, and that is my answer.
Oh.
Damian Harris. Okay. Yep. He does have also Damian Harris on there. Good catch right there, bud. Anybody want Carter, Taysom, Lockett, Dubs, Devontae over Damian Harris? I'm on Damian Harris too.
Yeah. George? Damian Harris for me, given those options. And I'm glad he followed also Damian Harris because
Right. Yeah. That's a tough look right there. What about you, Jeff? We changing your mind? You like Damian Harris over Michael Carter?
I'd never go anybody from the Jets as I've laid out. I'm not a huge Patriots supporter, even though via fantasy, even though I like him, personally. I don't. This is a tough. These are tough choices to go with. You got to go Harris, I suppose.
Got to get Harris, and then so that closes that out for us. We got Damian Harris as the lock. We got Chris Lazarine. Since Pittman is out, who should he play? Half PPR 10-man league. He's got Curtis Samuel, the Lizard, Singletary, the Devil, or Drake. He says, thank you. For me, I think I'm going to beat Joe. I'm going Curtis Samuel. Who do you got, Joe? So you can make me sound right. He loves it. Curtis Samuel. He says, Jason, what do you got?
I'm going to take Lazard, please.
A Lazard for him. I knew you were going to stray on us. George, what do you got? You're going to agree with George.
There's a Hall of Fame wide receiver on this list, according to Aaron Rodgers, and you guys are just completely ignoring him. And I'm not only am I disappointed in that fact, but I also agree with the fact that you should ignore him. It's going to be Curtis Samuel.
Curtis Samuel. Jeff, who do you got here?
I got to go Lazard. I'm still not on the Carson Wentz train completely.
George and I need to get back into therapy.
Yeah. 3-2 though. 3-2 of us are playing Curtis Samuel on that one. John Light starting Aaron Jones. He's got Chase Edmonds or AJ Dillon in the flex, 1 PPR. I think we had this one earlier. I think we all said AJ Dillon. Anybody? Oh, I think Jason said Chase Edmonds, but I think the rest. No, you actually did say AJ Dillon. Anybody got Chase Edmonds in here over AJ Dillon?
No, and here's the thing. This one's a little different because he's already got Aaron Jones. And unlike my deal with Javonte Williams and Curtis Sutton, where I don't want to play both of those guys from the same team, I'll play both of these running backs at the same time because I think they both have standalone value. I agree
with that. I've done it before and I've won, and I would do it again.
Yeah, like I said, there's 2 backfields this year that I'm actually don't mind doing that in. It's Cleveland and it's Green Bay. I don't like many of the other options on both of those teams, actually, outside of the 2 running backs. We got our man Oswaldo showing back up. He says, so Kamara's out. Should he start Hall or D. Pierce at the flex? So we starting Pierce at the flex, or are we starting Breece Hall? I'm starting Pierce. George, who do you got?
No, I'm going with Breece Hall here. Dameon Pierce, he barely had any snap share last week. Like his usage was next to none. Rex Burkhead in a game script where you would think it would be more suitable for Pierce for them to run out the rest of the game. Like Pierce couldn't get on the field. He couldn't get the snap share. It was all Rex Burkhead all the time. So give me Breece Hall. Give me the better talent.
Breece Hall for George. Jason, who do you got?
Yeah. Until further notice, if it's Pierce versus anybody, it's pretty much anybody. I'm going to say Breece Hall.
Okay. Jeff, do you agree?
I'm going Pierce. I've said before my disdain for the New York Jets and what's going to happen to them today. So I'm going Pierce.
Excellent. That puts the tie on you, Joe.
Hall. Winner.
Hall it is. He just comes in and says Hall. He likes the Hall opportunity as well. So that's Hall, 3-2. And Justin says he started duty jobs over Julio. You should. You know, like I'm gonna go out there. Now, look, I'm not going to be anything incredible, but I can get you 3 catches for 34 yards and possibly land my fat ass into the end zone. Okay.
Hey, Mike, here's the big thing. Like, unlike Julio, you're actually going to be able to get on the field. So that's
exactly. It's funny because I pulled a muscle in my back, so I'd be all limping out there. Even myself, I'd be looking like Julio Jones out there. Oswaldo said, "Oh, he's already got that one." He also has a PPR Lockett, Dotson, or Burks at the flex PPR.
Ooh, how do we feel about Dotson? I'd be curious to hear in general. We talked about Samuel a lot.
I like Dotson before he had 2 touchdowns last week. I think he's the number 2 wide receiver on a team that's going to throw the ball a lot today. So I like Dotson standalone without the touchdowns. So for this one, give me Dotson.
George, who do you got?
I want Treylon Burks actually. I believe we're to overreaction to week 1 here with Dodson. He's not the wide receiver 2 there. He's actually the wide receiver 3. Because I would have both of Scary Terry McLaurin and Curtis Samuel ahead of Dotson on their play chart. They're going to use both of those guys more than they are going to be using Dotson. So I'm going to go Treylon Burks.
Quickly, and then I know I got to let these guys talk too. But while you would have him that way, the Commanders don't. When it's 2 wide receivers on the field, it's actually Dotson on the field, not Samuel. Yeah. They just have 3 wide receivers on the field a lot, which gives Curtis Samuel a lot of run. So, I get why, as fantasy analysts, we say
option in the passing game is what he is.
Oops. All right, listen, I'm going to take this pause. I believe it sounds like there's a hostile takeover in my the first floor of my house, and my wife is losing. So on the birthday, I'm going to move it upstairs. I love you guys. It's week 2. Let's do this, and I will see you guys next week.
Good luck, buddy. Good luck. Try not to die. Okay, so we got what about you, Jeff? Who do you got on this one? Lockett, Dotson, or Burks?
I don't like these options at all, but I guess I'll have to go with Dotson on this one.
Dotson as well here. I did like his opportunity there. I do think he will be the wide receiver 2 on that team. that I think will be passing a lot. Now, I do like Burks, but I do like Burks to kind of settle in, get a little bit later on in the season. And then Lockett, man, I did not like what I saw out of Seattle. That was a gross game between those two. That's funny. He says George and Jason are the same person. Easy to get them mixed up. I'm like, man, as a guy who knows both of you, that is not the case at all. We got Dorcher, Robbie Anderson at wide receiver 3, half PPR. Also Pollard or Hall at the flex. So I'll start this one off. I'm going to do Anderson as my wide receiver 3. I'm going to do Pollard as my flex. I think he does have not as good as a game, but I think he could beat Dortch and Brees Hall. George, what do you think?
I'm going to go Robbie Anderson for sure at the wide receiver 3. And I'm going to go Brees Hall here. I'm not starting Pollard in a half-point PPR over Brees Hall. I just can't do it.
I like it. Jeff, who do you got?
I'll agree with Robbie Anderson, and I'm going to go Pollard too, even though I don't like that option. But I simply can't take anybody from the New York Jets.
I love it. I love your hatred of the Jets. Jason, who do you got?
I'm going to take Robbie Anderson, and I'm going to take a shot at Brees Hall here over Tony Pollard.
Okay. All right. So that was pretty well split there. So go with your gut, but it looks like Robbie Anderson definitely is getting the nod. Quarter PPR, he needs 2 flex from this mess. He's got Campbell at Jacksonville, Gainwell versus Minnesota. Pollard again making an appearance. Zeke versus Cincinnati. Stevenson at Pittsburgh. For me, it's going to be Campbell and Stevenson. Jason, who do you got?
Ooh,
sorry, Campbell and Zeke. That's what I meant to say. Campbell.
I was just going to say that's. I know TJ's out there, but Stevenson over Zeke would be a hot take. I think I'm going to take Campbell and Zeke here
as well. Jeff, who do you got?
I'm actually going to. I'll take Campbell and Stevenson. I don't know how I feel about Zeke lately. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank, and remains to be seen what's going on with Cooper Rush. At least I know that Mac Jones is going to hand off to Stevenson.
Gotcha. George, what's your take here?
Yeah, so I'm going Zeke for sure. And I'm actually going to go Stevenson at Pittsburgh. So we're probably no help.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a couple for Zeke, a couple for Campbell, which actually leads the votes right there. So it's 2-1, 2-1. Campbell and Zeke are your guys. And so it looks like you could smatter in Stevenson in that mix as well, and we'd all feel pretty good about that, though. John Light says, start Jamal Williams or DeAndre Swift today. Swift is playing. I'm playing Swift. George, what do you think?
DeAndre Swift.
Jeff?
Swift, no-brainer.
Gotcha. Jason, any arguments there? Nope, we got Swift as a consensus. We got Chris's video start too. Tua, Brady, or Fields? I am sitting Fields. George?
Yeah, this is a lot tougher. Starting Brady, that's a no-brainer, right? Like Brady's a no-brainer. And then it comes down to Tua and Fields. I'm gonna go Tua. He's got the better weapons. Go Tua.
Tua, Jason?
I'm really low on Brady this week. I'm sitting Brady. I'm starting Tua and Fields, which is odd for me to say. I think it's going to be a running game in Tampa. And no Godwin, no Jones. That offensive line, their left tackle is out, and New Orleans has beat him 6 games out of 6 games in the regular season since he's been in Tampa. So of that, I'm going to go ahead and sit Brady because I don't think it's going to be a good game for him.
That's not a bad take right there. Jeff, do you got anything to add to that? What's your take here?
I like I said before, I'm kind of staying away from Tua and Fields just because of the matchup. I cannot go against the GOAT, especially coming off of a performance that he wasn't very happy with. I understand his history with the Saints, but I think Brady's going to bounce back.
Excellent. So that's 3-1. I get it, Jason. But I'm gonna go with this brings me back already. Please stop seeing CD has no Dak. My stomach hurts from laughing because he is also 12. Justin, me and you are in the 12 club. I love it. He says even with the supposed snap count with Swift over Williams, right? Like I'm still happy. I do like Williams today, but I just don't like him over Swift. I have to give Swift a nod there because I think he's the guy that can get things done.
To me, if Detroit thought that they didn't need, if they thought Williams was the guy here and they didn't need Swift, they would sit him. So
Yeah,
the fact that he's hurt and they're still putting him on a snap count but playing him speaks volumes to me.
Yeah, and especially where he'll be getting the volume there at the beginning of the game at the very least. And I'd rather take that than Jamal throughout the whole game. Dustin Hetrick says Pickens, Pitts, Burks, or Anderson. Pick 2. Jeff, start us off here.
I'm taking out of those 4. I'm taking Pitts and Anderson. I just think that's Pitts is the guy in Atlanta, and Robbie Anderson has a good matchup. I think those are the 2 to go with.
Excellent. Jason, what do you think?
I think I am going to roll the dice with Burks on this one, so it'll be Pitts and Burks for me.
Pitts and Burks. George?
Yeah, I'm going Pitts and Pickens. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not taking Pickens. Pitts and Anderson for me.
And it's Pitts and Anderson for me as well. I do like Treylon Burks a lot today, but I think Pitts is going to see some volume uptick, and I think Anderson's just going to kind of be your little steady Eddie there in the corner. And guys, just a quick reminder: if you're on here watching us on YouTube, get on there, like and subscribe. Get on there. We're making our quest for 1,000 this summer or this season. So get on there, get some subscribing. And Howard Kim says Elliott versus Pollard or versus Kenneth Walker. That's a pretty dismal lineup there, but I'm going with Elliott. What about you, George?
Yeah, this is Zeke Elliott. Like
Zeke Elliott for you as well. Jason?
No, it's Zeke.
Sorry, George. I didn't mean to cut you off right there. I was actually kind of behind there.
No, you're good.
It's Zeke for me.
Zeke, and what about you, Jeff?
I'll get on board with everybody, even though I don't like these options at all, but I'll have to roll with Zeke too.
Exactly. Look at me and Rich being on the same page, and I swear I didn't read that before I said all that. I was just like, it's probably time to throw it out there. If you haven't done so, get in there and like it and subscribe. We got this beautiful lady right here. April Gilbert says Pollard or Boyd in the flex. She's taking Julio out because you should. Julio is out. Who do you guys got this week? Man, she's got an incredibly handsome man at her side too.
I would go with the guy in that photo, to be honest.
I would go with the guy in the photo too as well. But I mean, look at those eyes though. Look at her eyes. That's the winner right there. She's beauty. I'm the beast.
So this is a perfect example. If you're ugly, you can still get a beautiful girl. Okay. So
that's it right there. You just have to be a little funny. You don't even have to be that funny. Just kind of funny at the right times.
That's how George did it too.
Absolutely.
That's how we roll.
To answer this question, I would actually take Pollard over Boyd in the flex.
Pollard over Boyd. What about you, Jason? You're nodding your head. You agree?
I completely agree there.
And what about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'd stick with Pollard, and it always confuses me here, Mikey. I'll have to agree with the gentleman. I don't know how you got lucky there. Did you slip something in her drink when you met, or what happened there?
Well, see, and it's just been hypnosis ever since. It's about 2 or 3 hours a week is all I got to dedicate to it, just to keep her kind of at least in that little haze for a little while.
Well, so he Cosby'd her the first time, then got her, pregnant. So now she's stuck.
She's like, okay, I guess I'll just stick with you.
Oh, it's the trap game. It's the trap game.
We trapped her. We came all the way down to Florida to trap her. That's I'm too scared to go back to Wyoming, so I keep her. I really shouldn't say I keep her. She keeps me. I'm lucky enough to be let into her life still, so I love her very much, and it's great to see her on here. And hopefully, she agrees with you guys because I too am going with Tony Pollard right here. Pitts and Anderson and Elliott. He says, Ed Infamous says need to half PPR out of Henderson, Edmonds, and James Robinson. And Jeff, start us out.
This is interesting. I've said my piece about the Dolphins, so I don't need to beat a dead horse on that. Robinson kind of showed up to be the guy as opposed to Etienne last week, and Henderson over Akers. So I'd go Henderson and Robinson.
Henderson and Robinson. Jason, who do you got?
I am on the same board there. I'm taking Henderson and Robinson here. With the amount of usage they gave Robinson last week, makes me much more comfortable to going forward with him.
Henderson and Robinson, I agree with that. George, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm on board with Henderson and Robinson. I really liked the way James Robinson looked last week. I liked the way they used him, even coming off the Achilles. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of the Miami running backs right now.
Yeah, and I mean, like I like the options that he has better than it is that it's not like I don't like Chase Edmonds. It's just I feel like I'm getting the running back ones of the team when I start Henderson and I start Robinson, and I feel like I'm getting the running back question mark when I'm starting Edmonds, because it seems like they just kind of go cycle through each running back on that team quite a bit. So give me the guys that are getting the volume there. Jeff, did you have anything to add to that?
No addition to that. I mean, like I said, I think we're all in agreement here.
Gotcha. We got Steve Soleil says 2 questions. Does he pick up Hayden Hurst at tight end or keep Albert Okwuegbunam? Also, does he pick DJ Chark or keep Marquise Brown? I'm not letting go of Marquise Brown until I start seeing where I see DeAndre Hopkins. I'll answer that one first. Any of you guys disagree? Would you get Chark over Marquise Brown?
Nah.
No. That's 3 no's. I figured as much. Now, what about Hayden Hurst over Albert O? Now, Albert O is my guy. I like him a lot. But I do like Hayden Hurst a lot as well this year. But I'm going to lean Albert O right here. Jason, what do you think?
As far as the tight ends go, I'm higher on Hayden Hurst than the majority of people. So I can see why others would not do this. I would, because as we saw last week, Albert O is not the only tight end in Denver that Russell Wilson has googly eyes for, and Hayden Hurst, like I said, 5th most targets last week for any tight ends. I'm taking Hayden Hurst here.
Taking the volume. George, what do you got there, bud?
Yeah, I'm going Hayden Hurst. I'm not a big believer in AO. So I there's just too many. They want to use all 4 of their tight ends there. It's not a condensed tight end room at all. And as far as DJ Chark or keep Marquise Brown, I would go with Marquise Brown for now.
Excellent. Jeff, what do you got there?
Yeah, I agree with Jason's point. You got to go Hurst only because, not that I don't like Albert O, it's just we saw how much Russell Wilson was spreading it around. We saw the options that he has. So Hurst is the guy I'd go with.
Excellent. See, so what I'm leaning on for what I'm planting my flag for in the Albert O situation is that was not the Broncos that we're going to be used to seeing week to week in that week 1 matchup. So hopefully we see a little bit of uptick on Albert O. But again, I'm happy with Hayden Hurst. I love Hayden Hurst. He's one of my favorites, especially with his foundation and the things that guy does off the field. Makes me a huge Hayden Hurst fan. So it's really nice to see him in these questions with some relevance. It's usually like week 15, week 16 when we're out of players that we start getting into Hayden Hurst talk. Howard Kemp says Michael Carter versus Jeff Wilson Jr. Jeff, you got the name. Start us out here.
In this one, I love Jeff Wilson Jr. in this spot, especially in a daily scenario. He's pretty cheap. It'll be a good fill-in. I think he's going to get the touches. And well, I don't have to repeat what I said about the Jets.
I think you do. You like them, right?
A lot of disdain for the Jets. I can't. Hate is strong. A very big time dislike for the New York Jets.
A strong disdain for the team. Jason, what do you got here? Do you going with Wilson or are we going with Carter?
I'm going with Wilson.
Okay, I'm actually going with Wilson too. George, do you argue with that?
Consensus is correct here. It's Jeff Wilson Jr.
Excellent.
Call George Tom Hanks.
Yep.
George is Tom Hanks. We got G. Schultz says, "Hey Jason." So we got a fan out there of yours there, buddy, saying, "Hey, what's up?" We got Integrity Trader. He says, "Bench stash. Would you drop Rondell Moore to stash Tyler Algier? Sorry, I always get that guy's names wrong. I would. I think he has the potential to be a running back 1 on that team, especially when we start getting to the colder games, colder months. I know he's Atlanta, but at the same time, the Atlanta still travels. And I just really have no faith in Rondell Moore doing much on that team. Jason, what do you think here?
Yeah, I probably would go with it too. I haven't seen anything out of Rondell Moore that makes me think he's going to be anything more.
Not
or
that
less
I'm
than
huge
Algier.
excited about Algier either, but it's
Right.
I'd rather have the speculation of him on my bench than Moore. What about you, George?
Yeah. So first off, shout out to Corey. This is Keto Corey, friend of ours. I would definitely stash Tyler Algier over Rondell Moore.
That's Keto Corey, the integrity trader.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. What's up, man? Good to see you. I haven't talked to that guy in forever. I love Keto Corey. Yeah.
But I would go Tyler Algier. There's more upside there. As you get your players back from Arizona, in the next 5 weeks or so, you're going to see a huge drop off in value for Rondell Moore. So I'm not if it's just somebody a stash that I don't need to try to rely on for a flex or a second flex, I would definitely go with Tyler Algier. There's more upside there.
Definitely. And like I said, it's good to hear from you, Keto Corey, man. Definitely. The guy's a rock star. He's awesome. You ought to check him out. Adakin is the name of his band, if I remember correctly, right?
I think it's Atticane, but yeah.
Atticane. There you go. Atticane. We got Bobby Pigskins enter the chat. Brace for the question dump, guys. And he says he has Dortch too. Rondell News starting to say he could miss more time. Feels like a roster clog. Yeah, get him out of there, man. There's no reason to keep him in there at all. We got half point PPR. AJ Dillon is the running back one. Who is the running back two? Hines, Robinson, Harris, Pierce, or Burkhead? Jeff, start us out.
Those are some good options. We've made the case for Hines because of the injuries this week. I just don't know how. Well, I don't know how you get away. Well, although, geez, I'm contradicting myself here. Robinson is the guy in Jacksonville. I'd actually go Robinson just because he proved to kind of be the guy in Jacksonville. I don't trust anybody in Houston. I haven't trusted anybody for the Patriots offense. So I'd go Robinson.
Robinson for you, George?
Yeah, being it's a half point PPR makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm leaning more towards Damian Harris just because the Patriots only going to have two. They're really only going to use two running backs this week, with Ty Montgomery being put on IR. They had, last I checked, they had Damian Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, and the rookie as the only active running backs on the roster, and the rookie was also injured. So I expect it's going to be a big game. The Patriots want to run the ball. Like, they're not going to want Mac Jones to throw the ball. They don't want Mac Jones to have to, try to win this game. They're going to focus on the run. So I would go with Damian Harris here.
Jason, who do you got here?
I'm going Damian Harris as well. Robinson is playing against a good run defense against the Colts. Harris is playing against a good but not great run defense against the Steelers. I think of the two, I think Harris is the better running back, so I'm going to go with Harris.
Harris for the win, then 2-1. We got full PPR. T. Higgins or Amon-Ra St. Brown in the flex. Let's go ahead and lead this off, Jason.
Wow, I like both of these guys this week. I'm gonna say Amon-Ra St. Brown. What the guy's done over the last however many weeks of fantasy football, when it's mattered, has been nothing short of incredible, and I think that's going to keep going.
Excellent. I like that. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah. I think St. Brown has showed he's the guy in Detroit. Higgins, they kind of spread it around over there. St. Brown is really a great talent, and I think he should have a big day.
Excellent. And George?
I'm going to go T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is a top 15 wide receiver. I don't believe Amon-Ra St. Brown's a top 20 wide receiver, so I'm going to go T. Higgins.
T. Higgins for you. Now, I was kind of leaning T. Higgins, but I think I like the Amon-Ra St. Brown to keep it kind of consistent here to keep the ties from happening and whatnot. But I really do think that you almost can't lose with this. I feel like both of these guys are going to be at least adequate, like probably 16 to 20 points in a PPR. I think they're going to be some of your top tier scorers right Let's go ahead and on the next one there, We've got, there's kind of a few different ones. He's got a trade offer. Give up A.J. Brown, James Robinson, and Isaiah McKenzie. Get A-Rob, Lenny Fournette, Taysom Hill. I'm leaning no, but he's kind of weak at running back. I'd rather be on the front side of that, guys. Anybody else argue with that? Which part of the trade do you want there?
No.
I want Brown and Isaiah McKenzie.
Yep. Okay. So nobody wants that trade, especially nobody wants A-Rob right now. And I can't argue with that. He's abysmal looking out there. He just doesn't seem to care anymore. Chris's video says start 2, Brady, Tua, or Fields. I think we might've already seen this one earlier. And I think we consensus Brady and Tua are who we're starting here. I think Jason said he's sitting Brady though. Correct?
Yes, correct. Also, breaking news, Jameis Winston is playing, but he's playing with 4 fractures in his back.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. Jameis Winston being a man out there looking tough. Steve Evans says we got Uncle Steve. Man, sorry, I keep messing the name up. Okay, he's got one more. PPR. Henderson, Etienne, or Kirk. Pick one. Thanks, guys. George, lead us off.
I'm actually leaning Etienne here. Etienne was he was in pretty good shape to have a big game last week. He had a drop touchdown. I just lean Etienne here.
Etienne for George. Jason?
It's going to be Henderson for me. He dropped a touchdown, but the bigger one was a missed wide open touchdown. And I have a problem with Trevor Lawrence doing that way too many times. So like if it's a limited amount of opportunities and you blow one and your quarterback blows the other, look, I think Henderson's going to have a bigger opportunity to score.
Excellent. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I got to roll Henderson here too. If those are the options, I can't trust anybody from Jacksonville over anyone from the Rams. So Henderson's going to be the guy for me in that scenario.
I got Henderson too, making that 3-1 Henderson, which is it's a really good situation to have. I do like ETN, but he's gotten to a point in his lineup status that I have to see it now before I start risking these week 2 for losses. We got Joe Clark says for flex, Thielen versus the Vikings or Penny versus the 49ers. Jason, lead us.
It'd be a trick if Thielen could actually verse the Vikings, but I'm still going to go with Penny versus the 49ers.
Yeah, see now Thielen against the Vikings is tough because they're not going to know where he's standing because he's going to be in the same uniform as the rest of them. I can't remember who Minnesota's playing, or else I'd have corrected that for him. But you're still going with Penny versus the 49ers regardless, Thielen?
Yeah, I'm going with Penny.
Jeff, what do you got?
Yeah, I'd stick with Penny. I mean, in that scenario, I'll always go kind of starting running back over wide receiver just because you never know how many targets Thielen will get, especially with Jefferson there, and especially going up against his own team. That should be very interesting. But yes, Penny is the guy in that scenario.
He's actually going up against the Eagles.
Yeah, Thielen is okay. And what about you, George?
So until Jason told me he was going up against the Eagles, I was going Thielen just because I feel like the Vikings defense will leave him wide open and not cover him. This way he can score touchdowns and they can win.
I just that random and it will.
With up until I found out he wasn't actually going against the Vikings. And then I was going to ask, like, did we miss the fact that Adam Thielen may have got traded to the Eagles? So Joe could be right. Like, Thielen could now be on the Eagles, and he's going up against the Vikings.
I'm on it.
I'm just all question about Adam Thielen. So for those reasons I've given, I'm going to go with Penny and just play it safe.
Penny for the safety. That's 3-0 on Penny. We'll go ahead and pop back in over here on a couple more sleeper questions. Super Bears 19 says Damian Harris or Johan Dotson half PPR. Jeff, lead us off.
I mean, I bagged on the Patriots offense, but for me, Damian Harris kind of has to be the guy here. Dotson, yeah, he's talented. Again, I'm not exactly on the Carson Wentz train, but so Harris is the guy.
Harris for you, Jason?
Harris for me as well.
Harris for you. What about you, George?
Yeah, Damian Harris.
Damian Harris for the 3P. This is the way to go. Full PPR pick 2 or our running back in a flex. We got Henderson, Dillon, Michael Thomas, DJ Moore, or ATN. He's planning to sit Najee. He started Eckler already. His wide receivers 1 and 2 are Amon-Ra and Sutton. So we got to go with a running back and a flex here. I'll go ahead and lead this one off. I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon. And what I told him is I'm going to start A.J. Dillon, and I'm also planning on starting Najee in this mix. I'd rather have Najee Harris over the rest of these guys. I think he will, even though he'll be limited, I do think he'll have a lot more volume than the rest of these guys. George, what do you think?
Yeah, so first off, I love your team. Lots of options. You've got very good players to choose from. I'm going to go with Mike. I'm not going to sit Najee. I'm going to start him. So I'll have my 2 running backs as Najee and Eckler. And then for the flex position, I'm actually leaning DJ Moore.
DJ Moore over A.J. Dillon and Etienne. Okay. Jason, what do you got there, bud?
I am going to have Najee and A.J. Dillon, and then Amon-Ra. And I mean, honestly, for me, I might do DJ Moore over Sutton, but
I might do Moore over Amon-Ra, to be honest.
So we can move a lot of parts around. Your team is awesome. Go make some trades, 2-to-1 trades, and get a stud for 2 of these guys that you can't start. But I'm gonna say Najee, AJ Dillon, Amon-Ra, and for me, it'd be DJ Moore over Sutton.
And I actually agree with that whole take right there. What do you got, Jeff? I like that lineup better than and I'm high on Sutton. So
yeah, you can't really get away from Najee at the starting position there. I've already said A.J. Dillon's going to punch it in a couple times today, I think. So those 2 guys, I'll stick with Jason and George and roll that way.
Excellent. So that's a 3-peat. That's where we're all going. We're all starting the Amon-Ra. We're all starting A.J. Dillon. We're all starting Najee Harris. Ricey Booty Tree says its flexes are spotty. Should we run Duvernay or Anderson just stick to potentially more reliable starts? For me, I don't mind running Duvernay or Anderson. I liked Anderson's production last week. George, what do you think?
I would go Anderson over Duvernay, but if you have more reliable starts, which is a very loaded statement because we have no idea what is a reliable start or what you have, I would go with the more reliable start. But if I only have to choose between Duvernay and Anderson, I'm going Anderson.
Excellent. What about you, Jason?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I don't know what a reliable start means as far as like if you're deciding to potentially throw Anderson and Duvernay in there, how reliable can your flex spots be? So, but I would take Anderson. Anderson
as well. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm not too sure what place this person is, but if those are their options, that's a tough road to hoe. Anderson has a great matchup this week. I'm going that direction.
Excellent. And that was on Anderson as well. And that'll actually close us out on the sleeper questions at the very least for now. So we'll go ahead and get back into our regular chat there. I know we left off with our man Joe Clark. So we got Chris Lazarine says, full PPR, who should he start flex? Hollywood Brown or Josh Jacobs? Jeff, lead us off.
This is an interesting one. I really like Hollywood Brown, but I like the matchup today with Josh Jacobs and the Raiders against Arizona. So I'd have to lean Josh Jacobs in that scenario, even though those are good options.
Excellent. What about you, George?
Yeah, give me the safety of Josh Jacobs. Give me the guaranteed running back touches. I'm not sure, what Hollywood Brown will be able to produce. So give me Josh Jacobs. He does have a fantastic matchup.
I actually like Josh Jacobs here as well. Jason, what do you got?
Yeah, Ty goes to the runner for me.
Excellent. Yep, I like that saying a lot because that's a good it's not a bad philosophy to have as the Ty going to the runner. We got the hard hitting one here. Classic tortilla chips or Doritos for the nachos. Jason, you're leading us off on this one.
Yeah, so as the fattest guy here, Cool Ranch Doritos for the win.
Cool Ranch even. Cool Ranch Doritos. Jeff, do you have an argument with that?
Dude's standing the whole show. We can't listen to him on this one.
Right. For snack chips. He's like, actually, I eat avocado peels after they've gestated.
I don't subscribe to the Tom Brady diet. I will go with the tortilla chips just because it's more versatile as far as dipping purposes. Doritos kind of pigeonholes itself, so I'm going tortilla chips depending on your dipping options.
And that's why you can't that's why you can't listen to a guy who stands the whole show on snacks. he's dipping it in, like, I don't know, pick something healthy because I don't know what that is.
That's awesome.
He's dipping his chips in carrots. Like
right, exactly. And fat-free ranch.
So I will say lime flavored tortillas are the best tortilla chips there is. Okay, I'll just throw that out there right now. But I'm with Jason. It's definitely the Doritos, but I'm going with the purple bag, the sweet and spicy chili Dorito. Those are the 101 of any type of Doritos. So go with those for the nachos for the win.
Okay, so for the win, even he likes and so I'm actually going to throw a fork in this because I'm on your side there, Jeff. I like the classic tortilla chips. I like the fact that my fingers don't get messy when I eat nachos, so I can just dip and do what I want to do there as far as it goes. But in Doritos, your fingers always get messy, so I'm out.
Yeah, that's why you're also a skinny guy, Mike. See, Jason, I know the best part of the Doritos is actually when you're done eating them and you get that crust of cheese or Cool Ranch or the flavoring on your fingers. That's the best part.
See, I guess when you have the name Dirty Jobs, licking your fingers ain't something you get to enjoy or want to do at a very often time. So I definitely don't do that, but I get it. I get what you're saying there. That's a good argument. We got a work league. You must start one at the flex. We got full PPR. Melvin Gordon versus Houston. Zeke versus Cincinnati. AJ Dillon versus Chicago. Jeff Wilson versus Seattle. Jason, lead us off.
Ooh, it wasn't hard for me until I saw Jeff Wilson. I'm going to say AJ Dillon, though. I'm still going AJ Dillon against Chicago over Jeff Wilson in Seattle. The other two, I think AJ Dillon's got a chance to score multiple times this game. So that's where I'm going.
So AJ Dillon for you. What about you, George?
Yeah, this is a good one, Justin. Lots of good options. I'm gonna go Zeke versus Cincinnati. I'm still riding that Zeke train.
Zeke versus Cincinnati. That's not too bad. I'll go ahead and I'll actually say Dillon versus Chicago for me. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's Dillon. I've said he's going to punch it in a couple times. Gordon is splitting carries. Zeke, I think, is washed up. Jeff Wilson is a nice option, just hasn't proven himself. Dillon is the guy.
Dillon is the guy, so we like that. Jessica Reed says PPR tight end premium where we get bonuses for first downs. Logan Thomas, Rex Burkhead, Mark Ingram, or Tony Pollard in her flex. Jason, since this has to be something you can mess with, I'm sure. Let's go ahead and start with you again.
Man, I'm gonna go Tony Pollard here. I do like Logan Thomas. George and I kind of agree on that as well. We've been in leagues that we're in, we've been fighting over him on waiver wire pickups, but I'm gonna go, even if it's tight end premium, I'm gonna say Tony Pollard here.
Tony Pollard for you, Jeff. Who do you got here?
With Kamara out, I like Mark Ingram as the option here, even though the tight end premium is an interesting X factor on that one. And I see Jason shaking his head on the Ingram thing, but I just think he's going to have some more opportunity.
Excellent. That's not a bad take, I don't think, because I think that you're not exactly wrong. George, we'll go with you here next since you're also a Reed.
Yeah, so I actually typed this question up. I thought it was my name, not my wife's. This is my Scott Fishbowl conundrum I've got for one of my third flex. So I'm coming to me on this question is not going to help. I'm the one asking it.
Okay, gotcha. So for me, for my money, I'm actually going to go with Logan Thomas, I think he does have enough volume to squeak by. I don't really like anything coming out of Dallas. Rex Burkhead is Rex Burkhead, and Mark Ingram is, he probably might be the right play if we're looking for floor. I think Mark Ingram might be your better floor play, but I think Logan Thomas is going to be your better ceiling play.
Mike, I make a team name of better foreplay.
Better foreplay. I like it, actually. I like it. Chad Rohn says, is Khalil Herbert a must pick up ahead of the waivers? If so, who to drop between Pierce or Hall? I feel like I might be dropping. I think I dropped Pierce for Herbert, 14-team non-PPR. George, you're agreeing. Do you agree with that?
Of those two options, I'm dropping Pierce. But honestly, if it's a 14-teamer, that means your benches are probably very thin as it is. So I want to know who else you have on your bench to where you can.
Because I don't want to drop either one of these guys. I like all three of them, but I don't think I'd feel very comfortable dropping Pierce. Jason, do you agree with that there? What do you think?
Yeah, look, I think Herbert is a must pick up because at some point in this
I'm surprised he's available in a 14-team PPR.
Yeah,
non-PPR, I guess, makes more sense. But
I think he's starting to work his way into like a potential you can start him a standalone value kind of guy. But if I have to keep one of the or if I have to drop one of the three, I would be dropping Herbert because I think Pierce and Hall have better future value than Herbert. So but I agree with George. In a 14-team league, Breece Hall can't be in this discussion as one of the guys that's the worst on your team. So there's worse guys there. You just don't want to tell us.
I'm just wondering if it's one of those leagues where you're only allowed to have a certain amount of running backs on your roster, which is a league I would never join and I would want to get it very far away from. But this is a league where you're only allowed to roster 4 running backs. And that's why he's on waivers. And that's why he's asking specifically between Pierce and Hall. That's the only thing I can come up with. And even then, like, I still think I would drop Dameon Pierce for Khalil Herbert.
Hey, Mike, I switched that because he also mentioned he just dropped KJ Osborne for Campbell.
So my mouse was right next to that, so I thought I just misclicked.
Sorry. Okay.
You're good. Yep.
Yeah, no, so Rich, he same guy mentioned he dropped KJ Osborne for Campbell.
Unless you're starting Campbell this week, I would drop Campbell and pick up Khalil Herbert. That's a no-brainer.
That's where I would be too.
Yep, I agree with that as well. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, Herbert is certainly shaping up to be the guy. I want to say Montgomery last week had 17 carries for 26 yards, something pathetic like that. So Herbert is absolutely the pickup. I don't need to say how much I dislike the New York Jets, so Hall's got to go. So that's where I'll stick.
Gotcha. We got Robert saying he went with both kind of chips for the nachos, which is probably the right answer. We were all wrong. We're sorry we failed you, Bobby Pigskins. Please still come back to us next week, and we will try to help you out. But that is clearly the right answer. All chips go with nachos. We got ED Infamous dropping in saying half-point PPR wide receiver Bateman or Curtis Samuel. It's funny because I think this is going to be 3-1 Curtis Samuel. George, who do you like on this one? I know the answer from the guys on our left here, but what do you got, George?
Yeah, I'm going Curtis Samuel here.
Curtis Samuel?
I like the fact that Bateman is going to get shadowed by Xavier Howard.
Gotcha. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I'd go with Samuel. Bateman's got a tough matchup this week. Samuel seems to be kind of getting the targets. I'd go that way.
And Jason with Bateman, right? Is it because your name's Jason and you like Jason Bateman?
That doesn't hurt for sure. We
were talking about Ozark last night on the show.
Exactly. Look, no, I like Bateman. I want to see it more than 1 week out of Samuel before I start benching guys that I really liked coming into the season. So I thought Samuel was a good pickup this week, but I didn't think we'd be picking him up and throwing him in the lineup based off one game against one team.
Right. Yep. I like that, but I'm also leaning on Samuel here as well. I just do think that he has the eye of Wentz anyways, and I'd like to keep going with that. Let's see here. He says it's diced tomatoes and peppers and a cheese blend. Yum! I'm starting to get hungry. It must be time to start watching some football. Let's see. We got the pros laying in their weight here though. Spicy sweet is the best Dorito, he says, and I tend to agree with that. The lime Tostitos are pretty good, but I just think this guy's trying to sell me chips. We got Chatteroni, we got Drake London, Julio Jones, and Trey Lance on the bench. Other honoring backs are Kareem Hunt and Mixon. I like that. I think I'm sticking with what you got right there. Anybody have any arguments there? Are we going to put London, Jones, or Lance on the above Kareem Hunt or Joe Mixon?
No.
Negative. Ghost Rider. And then we got Brandon Williams. Do you think Taysom gets more with Winston back fractures? I think he'll get a little bit more work in the running game. I don't think we see him. I don't know if we see him in any facility where he's quarterback. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it should be interesting. They'll put him out there for probably 3 or 4 snaps behind center, but Winston's a gamer, and Taysom is just an enormous X factor.
So I like Taysom in and out of the lineup, but I would take Winston at quarterback with back fracture over a healthy Taysom Hill, because we just saw what he could do as quarterback, which isn't much. His value is 100% in those gadget plays. We didn't really talk about it much, and I know the show's ending. The reason I shook my head on Ingram, it's not because I care about the Bucs all that much, which I do, but it's more about the fact that they're a good run defense. So they always play New Orleans well against the run. They didn't show very well against the Cowboys, but they knew the Cowboys were going to get away from running, and they sold out to stop the pass. I don't think they have to do that with somebody like Ingram in order to stop him. And Mike's muted.
I was just saying, yes, I agree. They definitely are able to shut that down pretty well. But I agree also, like they will likely be having to stick to a little bit more of that game plan. It is always a really close game. Jeff, what do you think here, bud?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Taysom's just too much of an X factor there. I like Jameis.
Gotcha. One last one from Bobby Pigskins, and we're going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. We got Adam McKenzie due to the Gabe Davis news. Do we just wait and see who goes, or do I move DJ Moore to the spot and flex one of his sketchy RBs? Hines, Pollard, Burkhead, Pierce, or James Robinson? Jason, this looks confusing. We're going to start this off with you.
So I think I go ahead and just move Robinson. I do move DJ Moore into the wide receiver. It's tough because if Gabe Davis starts, I really want him in my lineup, but you don't know if he's going to start and he plays tomorrow night. So I go ahead and move DJ Moore over to my wide receiver and I play James Robinson.
George, what do you think here?
So I'm actually stuck in a pickle as well. Because I have Gabe Davis in a couple of leagues, and I'm debating on whether or not I want to move Allen Robinson into his position, or if I want to just hold it out and see what happens tomorrow night. For the purpose of this question, I think I would, because he's got better options than what I have, I would move DJ Moore to the wide receiver spot, and then I would I'd probably flex James Robinson.
Excellent. So that's 2 for that. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I think we had a similar scenario earlier. I'll agree with you guys. Move more to wide receiver, flex Robinson, although I'm much higher on McKenzie than most. I think McKenzie's going to be a tremendous pickup going forward. You kind of fill in that Cole Beasley role and get a lot of targets. I like that pickup.
Yeah, so for me, I'm putting DJ Moore in that wide receiver spot as well. And I'm going to put in either McKenzie or Gabe Davis, whichever one plays tomorrow night. Obviously, Gabe Davis, if he's out there, I'm going to be putting in Gabe Davis. And if he sits, I have Taysom Hill Isaiah McKenzie right there at the ready, just in case he doesn't play. So I like that pickup, and I think that's why we did that move. is so you could be set up to get in that Bills action tomorrow night. So for me, it's that, but I'm outvoted 2-1 there. Now a real question here that I wonder if you guys can even answer. I know I have mine, but I'm an original gangster. So I always go zigzag. What about you, George? Dutch Master or zigzag?
For me, this would be neither.
This would be neither. Jason, what about you?
Yeah, I'm on the neither.
Rich goes neither either. Jeff, you look like you're way too fit to answer this question too. What do you got? Dutch Master or zigzag?
I don't even know what these are. Are these cigarettes? What is this?
Nope, that's exactly what I thought was going to be what you said right there. So I do like me some Dutch Masters, though. Don't get me wrong, but it's zigzag all the way because they're the original, the OGs. We'll go with that. With that, guys, we're going to go ahead and close it out. Make sure, like I said, you get on toiletstotitles.com. Go hop on that Patreon. Go support us with like less than a cup of coffee. Gets you into the Discord. Gets you into our early access for the waiver wire. Gets you in the invite to the Frankenstank. $7.50 gives you one-on-one advice. $10 free entry into the Frank. Dude, there's just so many different platforms. There's so many different ways you guys can get out there and support us. Glass it is. I like it, dude. Glass is the only way to go, like as far as it goes, man. Glass, I'll take it over that because it's a whole lot less effort, and especially because I can't roll. I've always had to have the rollers or somebody roll for me. What you got, Jason, to end us out?
Oh, I was saying I was waving. That's all.
Oh, gotcha. Well, thank you guys so much this week, and we will see you right back on time next week. And thank you again supporting the channel, like and subscribing all our content, and we will see you guys next week.